Hi, I'm Tony Svine of Hillside Christmas Tree Farm, and today we're going to talk about calibrating our sprayer. Some things you're going to need. You need to know 200 feet, right? That's what the magic number for driving to kind of calculate your tractor speed, right? So a tape measure. You're also going to need a scale in ounces. I just have my kitchen scale here. And also we're going to need some sort of container to collect the spray coming out of the nozzles. And we need to know the total for a minute. You can do 15 seconds times 4, 30 seconds times 2. Just give yourself a good container, and we'll weigh that. So why don't you follow along and see how we're going to do this. All right, so next up, I've marked my 200 feet. I've done it along the tree line here. Basically, you want to do it somewhere that's a good representation of what you're going to drive in the field, right? You don't want to drive down a driveway, which you can go a lot faster than you could drive going through the tree rows. So we set it up next to the driveway. This is a good representation, again, of what we can drive in this field. I'm going to use my phone as a stopwatch. I have stakes with little flags down there, and we're just going to kind of do a couple runs and record those numbers, and that'll give us our tractor speed. All right, now that we have we've driven our 200 feet, we know our average time for that. We'll put it in the Excel sheet. We'll get a miles per hour. It was pretty consistent. I did 3 runs. I had 2 32-second runs and 1 33. So it's good that I am pretty consistent when I'm driving along that edge there. So next up, we're going to fire up the sprayer, and we need to collect a minute's worth of spray. We're also going to need to know what our band width is too, because we have to know the area for that as well. So we'll collect that next. So here's our setup. We're gonna tear the scale with that on, so we get our 0 point. And this is in grams. We want to change the unit to pounds, ounces. We zero that. Now we're gonna collect the sample in the jar for 30 seconds. All right, there's kind of the first run. We're at 9.8 ounces. That's 30 seconds. We're going to have to multiply times 2 to get our full minute. So we'll do this a couple more times so we can get a good average. It's also important to note the pressure that you're operating at, right? Because that's going to be one of the things that we can adjust to get the correct rate. All right, so that does it for kind of the field portion of this video. Now I'm going to show you the Excel sheet that I created, and I'll go through some of the formulas that are in there to kind of calculate the active ingredient and spray, and if we need to make any adjustments, we can go from there. Okay, we are going to take that information we gathered from the field, and we're going to input it into this Excel sheet that I created. This is a sheet that I created from a website that I found. I will put the link in the description, and basically with all that information and the calculations in the website I found, we can calculate how many gallons per minute we're using, what our speed is, our ounces, and it turns into just, using the label information from the herbicide you're after, just getting the correct amount down in the field. So let's start up top. In the video you saw me measure my width, right? It was 18 inches, and we are going to be spraying simazine, which says use 2 to 4 ounces per acre in a 25-gallon spray. So we know that we're going to put, I just said 3 quarts, sorry, not quarts, not ounces, quarts into 25 gallons, and we want to spray 25 gallons per acre. We'll know based on that we are getting the right application rate down. You saw me drive, right? Those times were 32, 32, 33. So an average of 4.2 miles an hour I was driving. Up here we see the calculation. Speed equals distance in feet times 60. Divided by time times 88. So these calculations in here are all kind of those information. We don't do this very often, so it's important that you take a lot of notes inside the sheet so that when you come in, it makes sense. So now we're talking about gallon per minute. So our GPA, gallons per acre, times our speed, times our width, divided by this, will give us our gallons per minute. This kind of tells you what nozzle size you should use. In your spray nozzles, you'll use this chart over here. This is one I just had. You're going to target one that's in the middle for the pressures that you're at. We know we're going to be targeting a 0.32 gallon per minute nozzle, so probably this OCO3, right in the middle. All right. That will change based on your gallons per acre. I don't know what a different one. If we say 30, we need a 0.38, right? If we wanted 20, we need a 0.26. So this number, you play with the table up here, right? I don't have the other chemicals right off the top of my head, but you know, this little cheat sheet I put into here, and it tells me which nozzle I should use. So with this information now and the nozzle, we need to know how much we're spraying. In the video I talked about, I had that first reading of 9.8. The next two readings were like 14.5 and 13 something. So I kind of threw out that 9 and I redid it, and it was, you know, in line. So I can't remember exactly what it was. But times 2, right? We got a 31, a 28, and a 27. That, and we were at a 50 psi. That is 29 ounces per minute. So now you convert your ounces per minute to gallons per minute, and we are at 0.22 gallons per minute. Now, gallons per acre is gallons per minute times a number, times your speed, times your width. If that current setup, we would be applying 17.52 gallons, and our target is 25. We are short about 30%. Okay? So we're short. Now we need to make adjustments. Right? We can play with a nozzle, we can play with speed, we can play with pressure. On the website, it kind of gives you some generic suggestions on things to do. So you can determine the application rate, gallons per acre, with change in nozzle pressure. Let's change the pressure. If we were at 50, and again it tells you the gallons per acre 2, which is your change, times the one you were at, times the square root of your PSI you're changing to over the PSI you measured. This is a little cheat sheet here of what all these things mean. Alright, so if we were at 50 and we bump it up to 60, we will start applying 19. That's an option. Determine the application rate with a change in speed. So if you want to guess what you want to do, we did our speed up here. We know that we were 4.2 miles an hour, and that is automatically here. So if we wanted to guess a speed, and we said, I don't know, 3, that gives us 24.6. If we went down to 2, that gives us 37 gallons per acre. It's too much, right? But 3 worked, 24.6, pretty much on the money. This one here determines our speed when changing the application rate. So miles an hour, what our current application rate is, what our current speed was. You just type in there what gallons per acre you want, and it calculates the speed. So it tells us we need to go from 4.3 miles an hour. If we sprayed at a rate of 3 miles an hour, we would hit our target. Let's kind of check it, right? Here's our gallons per acre. If we took this time and we increased it, instead of being the average, let's just type in 3, right? And if this is the case, we should see our difference, gallons per acre of 24.64, and we're within 2% of our target. Sounds fantastic. So this is the math behind everything that you need to see. We want to undo that because that is actually a calculation, not just a number. But this was a neat site, a neat Excel sheet that I put together from that site of how we can take the field data and make sure that we are applying it at the right rate. Right? We were low, so if we're not getting good control, we didn't apply enough. So, all right. I hope this helps. I took a look on YouTube. I didn't see much about sprayer calibrations and anything like that, but I really found this site really helpful. You know, I took little snippets and I put exactly the calculations, and when I sit down and do it, it really makes sense to me. So it's pretty helpful. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching.